My wife secretly got a paternity test for our son because he has blue eyes and I don't. But when the results confirmed he is mine, I found out she did it because she had an affair and wasn't sure who the father was. This whole situation has been eating at me for the last week, and I honestly don't know if I'm being paranoid or if I stumbled onto something that I wasn't supposed to find. My wife Laura, 28F, and I, 30M, have a son Jack who is almost 2 years old. We've been married for 4 years and generally things have been good. We split the household duties, we both work, and we usually communicate pretty well. But there has always been this one little thing that comes up constantly. Jack has bright blue eyes, I have very dark brown eyes, and Laura has hazel eyes. Neither of us has blue eyes. I know how genetics work, sort of. I know it's possible if we both carry a recessive gene or something. I remember learning that in high school biology, so I never really thought much about it. It was just a quirks thing. Family members would make jokes about it sometimes. You know, the classic, "who's the mailman?" jokes at Thanksgiving. I always laughed it off because I trust Laura and Jack looks like me in other ways. He has my nose and my chin. It was never an issue for me. However, recently Laura has been acting really strange about it. It started a few months ago. Whenever someone would mention Jack's eyes, she wouldn't laugh. She would get really stiff and change the subject immediately. Or she would get weirdly defensive and start explaining about her great-grandmother who apparently had blue eyes, giving this long, detailed genetic history that nobody asked for. I just thought she was getting annoyed by the repetitive jokes. I get it. It gets old hearing the same thing over and over, but then her behavior ramped up. She started putting hats on him that pulled down low or sunglasses whenever we went out, even if it wasn't that sunny. It felt like she was trying to hide his face. Then last week, I came home early from work because I had a migraine. Laura didn't expect me. I walked into the kitchen and she was sitting at the table with a bunch of papers spread out. As soon as she saw me, she scrambled to pile them up and shove them into her bag. She looked terrified, like a deer in headlights. I asked her what was going on and she just said, "Nothing, just work stuff," and went to check on Jack in the playpen. But she was acting jittery the rest of the evening. 2 days ago, I was looking for a specific tax document in our filing cabinet. I couldn't find it, so I checked the miscellaneous drawer where we shove things we don't know what to do with. Tucked way in the back, under a stack of old warranties, was a folder I didn't recognize. I opened it, and it was a paternity test result from a lab I've never heard of. It was dated from 3 months ago. It listed me as the alleged father and Jack as the child. The probability of paternity was 99.99%. I stood there staring at it. I didn't even know she had done this. She must have swabbed my cheek while I was sleeping, or maybe she used a toothbrush or something. I don't know how these things work exactly, but she definitely swabbed Jack. I didn't say anything immediately because I was trying to process it. Why would she do this? If she knows I'm the father, and she knows she hasn't been with anyone else, why spend the money, and these tests aren't cheap, to prove something that shouldn't be in question? I confronted her about it last night. I tried to be calm. I just put the folder on the table after dinner and asked, "Laura, why do we have this?" She turned pale. Then she immediately got angry. She accused me of snooping and violating her privacy. She said I had no right to go through her personal papers. I told her it was in the family filing cabinet, not her diary. When I pressed her on why she took the test, she gave me this story about how she had developed severe anxiety about a hospital switch. She said she had read a story online about 2 babies getting swapped in the maternity ward, and because Jack's eyes didn't match ours, she got it into her head that maybe we brought home the wrong baby. She said she needed the test for peace of mind, to prove that Jack was biologically ours. She said she didn't tell me because she knew I would think she was crazy or irrational for worrying about a hospital mix-up. I want to believe her. I really do, but something feels off. If it was just about a hospital mix-up, why test me specifically? Why not test herself to see if she's the mother? Or why not tell me, "Hey, I'm having this irrational fear, can we check?" Instead, she did it behind my back, hid the results, and acted guilty when I found them. And even though the results say I am the father, I feel like the trust has been broken. It feels like she was checking for a specific reason, and I'm not sure if the hospital switch story is the truth or just a convenient excuse. She's currently giving me the silent treatment and acting like I'm the bad guy for finding the test. She told her sister, who I'm close with, that I'm being weirdly territorial and paranoid about a simple medical test. Her sister texted me saying I should just be happy the results are positive and let it go. Part of me feels bad because maybe she really was just struggling with postpartum anxiety and I'm being harsh. But another part of me feels like I'm being walked over in my own marriage. I just need unbiased advice. Am I overreacting to my wife getting a secret paternity test that proved I am the father? Update 1. I ended up having another conversation with Laura after I got home from work today. Mostly because I couldn't keep walking around the house like everything was fine when I felt like I was going crazy. The doubts in my head were getting louder, not quieter. I told her as calmly as I could that her explanation wasn't sitting right with me. I get that new moms have anxiety. I've read about intrusive thoughts, but I'm not just some bystander in this parenting thing. I'm Jack's father. I told her flat out that going behind my back to test my DNA against our sons was a huge breach of trust. She just kind of blinked at me and then started crying. She said I was being heartless, literally those exact words. She said I had no compassion for her mental health or the sleepless nights she spent worrying that our child wasn't actually ours. She accused me of caring more about my ego than her peace of mind. I just snapped a little. I told her this wasn't about ego. It was about the fact that she stole my genetic material, however she did it, and ran a lab test on it without asking. She never asked, not once. She just decided to play detective with our family. And the worst part is, now that I know about the test, looking back, she was weird for months. She was constantly analyzing Jack's features. Does he have your ears? Is that your hairline? I thought she was just being a doting mom, but now it feels like she was looking for evidence. I told her if she had just come to me and said, I'm having a panic attack about the hospital switch thing, I would have driven us to the lab myself. I would have held her hand while we did the swabs. I would have reassured her, but she didn't say anything. She just silently decided to act like I was a suspect in a mystery, or rather that Jack was a suspect. She got super defensive, wiping her eyes aggressively and said something like, well, I didn't want to worry you. I wanted to handle it myself so I wouldn't look like a crazy person. And look, he is yours, so why are we even fighting? The result was good. I said, yeah, the result is good, but the secrecy is bad. You acted like you were hiding a crime, Laura. The way you hid those papers when I walked in, that wasn't oops, I'm embarrassed. That was panic. She just rolled her eyes and said, get over it. I was scared you'd judge me. And clearly I was right because you're judging me now. That was it for me. I've been so patient with her moods lately. I've tried to be understanding of the stress of raising a toddler. But at this point, I feel completely gaslit. I've realized I'm not overreacting. I'm reacting to finding out my wife treated our son's paternity like a question mark. I decided to do some digging of my own. I didn't want to, but her reaction was just too defensive. It didn't feel like relief. It felt like damage control. I checked our shared phone plan bill. I know snooping for snooping, but I felt justified. I looked at the call logs and text logs from around the time she ordered the test, which was 3 months ago. I noticed a lot of texts to a number I didn't save in my contacts. It wasn't her mom, her sister, or any of her usual friends. It was a number she was texting casually but frequently. Like 50 texts a day for a week, then silence, then a burst of texts again right when the results came back. I put the number into one of those reverse lookup sites. It belongs to a guy named Scott. Scott is her co-worker. The one she always told me was super annoying and kind of gross. The one she complained about constantly for eating loud snacks in the cubicle next to her. My stomach dropped. Why would she be texting the gross co-worker 50 times a day while waiting for a paternity test? And why did the text stop almost entirely after the date on the results page? I haven't confronted her about Scott yet. I'm trying to keep my cool until I know more. But I have a sick feeling that the hospital switch story is complete garbage. I think she wasn't testing to see if Jack was ours. I think she was testing to see if Jack was mine. I'm going to look through our old credit card statements tonight to see if I can find the payment for the test or anything else suspicious. I didn't want it to come to this, but I'm not going to keep carrying the weight of this suspicion just because she's crying about anxiety. Update 2. Like I said I would. This morning, I did a deep dive into our finances and electronic history. I woke up at 4:00 a.m. while Laura was still asleep. I was so anxious my hands were shaking, but I knew I couldn't live in this limbo anymore. I logged into our joint bank account. Nothing. But then I remembered she has a PayPal account linked to her personal credit card, which I don't usually check because we use it for gifts. I managed to guess her password. It was just Jack's birthday. I found the payment for the DNA test. It was pricey, but then I scrolled back, way back to around the time Jack was conceived. I found charges for hotels, local hotels, 3 of them, all within a month of the conception window. They were booked on random Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. I felt like I was going to throw up. I sat there in the dark living room, staring at the screen, realizing that my entire life was potentially a lie. The timeline lined up perfectly. Then I went back to the phone logs. I looked at the dates of the texts to Scott again. I cross-referenced them with the hotel dates. There were flurries of texts on those specific days. I'm here. Room 204, things like that. I couldn't see the content of the texts on the bill, obviously, but the timing was damning enough. But I needed concrete proof of the reason for the test before I confronted her. I needed to know for sure that the test wasn't just anxiety, but specifically about Scott. I waited until she went into the shower this morning. She takes long showers. I grabbed her phone. She changed her passcode recently, but I watched her put it in yesterday when she thought I wasn't looking. It was 2580. I opened her WhatsApp. She had deleted the chat with Scott, of course, but she forgot the archived folder. Or maybe she forgot about an old conversation with her best friend, Kelly. I searched Scott in her chat with Kelly, and there it was. A message from 4 months ago. Kelly, I'm freaking out. Jack's eyes are getting bluer. Scott has blue eyes. What if he's not Frank's? I feel sick. And another one, I ordered a test. I have to know. If he's Scott's, I don't know what I'll do. Frank will leave me. Then a message from the day the results came in. Oh my God, he's Frank's. 99.9%. Thank God, I can breathe again. I'm never talking to Scott again. It's over. I'm burying this. I took photos of the screen with my own phone. I put her phone back exactly where it was. When she came out of the shower, wrapped in a towel, looking all fresh and clean, I was sitting on the edge of the bed. She smiled at me, a little hesitant, trying to smooth things over from the fight yesterday. Hey, she said. Are we okay? I looked at her and said, who is Scott? She froze. The color drained out of her face so fast it was scary. Who? She asked, her voice squeaking. Scott, I said, your co-worker, the one with the blue eyes, the one you slept with 3 times at the holiday in 2 years ago. She dropped her hairbrush. It clattered on the floor. She started shaking. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. Stop, I said. I saw the messages to Kelly. I saw the hotel charges. I know everything, Laura. I know the test wasn't about a hospital switch. It was to see if you had passed off your affair partner's baby as mine. That's when she broke. She fell to her knees, literally sobbing, grabbing at my legs. She started wailing. I'm sorry, it was a mistake. I was confused. We were going through a rough patch. We weren't going through a rough patch back then. We were trying for a baby. We were happy, or I thought we were. She launched into this whole monologue about how she felt unseen back then and Scott paid attention to her and it just happened. She claimed she cut it off as soon as she found out she was pregnant because she felt guilty. But then the eyes, she cried. Jack kept getting these blue eyes and Scott has blue eyes and I got so scared. I just needed to know. And look, he is yours. The test proves it. I didn't trick you. He's your son. She said this like it fixed everything. Like the fact that the biological roulette ball landed on my number meant the betrayal didn't count. I told her, you let me raise him for 2 years wondering if he was mine. You looked at our son every day and saw another man. She said, no, I hoped he was yours, and he is, so we're fine. We can get past this. It's over. Scott is gone. It's just us. I pushed her away. I told her I couldn't even look at her. I told her I was going to stay at a hotel for a few days. She grabbed my arm and begged me not to go, saying I couldn't leave Jack, that I was abandoning my family. He's my son, I said. I'm not abandoning him. I'm leaving you. I packed a bag while she cried on the floor. I walked out the door with her screaming my name. I'm currently sitting in a motel room, staring at the wall. I feel numb. I know Jack is mine. The test she took proves that at least, but everything else feels like a lie. I don't know what to do next. My parents are going to be devastated. Her parents, God, I don't even know. I just needed to write this out because I feel like I'm exploding. Update 3, I'm hoping this will all blow over soon. No, that's not right. I know this isn't going to blow over. My life has fundamentally changed in the last 48 hours. I'm still at the motel. Laura has been blowing up my phone. Hundreds of texts, calls, voicemails of her crying, then yelling, then crying again. She sent me a long email this morning. It was a roller coaster. First, she apologized again. Then she switched to justifying it. She said that she was hormonal and scared about becoming a mother and Scott was an escape. Then she got angry. She accused me of invading her privacy again by reading her texts to Kelly. She said that those were private conversations and I had no right to use them against her. She actually said, if you hadn't snooped, we would still be a happy family. You ruined this by looking for trouble. She blamed me for finding out. Can you believe that? She said. I handled it. I took the test, I got the answer, and I closed the door on it. You're the one opening it back up and hurting Jack. I didn't respond to the email. I forwarded it to my personal email just in case she tries to delete it later. I went to the house today while she was at work to see Jack. Her mom was watching him. Her mom doesn't know. She just thinks we're having a fight. She gave me a lecture about how marriage is hard work and I need to be more forgiving of Laura's moods. It took everything in me not to scream the truth at her. I played with Jack for an hour. He looks like me. He really does, except for the eyes. Now, every time I look at his eyes, I don't see a quirky genetic trait. I see her fear. I see Scott. Even though I know biologically those eyes came from my recessive genes or whatever, the association is tainted. When I was leaving, Laura came home early. She must have seen my car on the driveway cameras. She rushed in, looking frantic. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. She looked hurt. "Please," she said, "we can fix this. We can go to counseling. It happened 2 years ago. I've been a faithful wife ever since. Doesn't that count for something?" I asked her. "If the test had said he was Scots, would you have told me?" She went silent. She looked down at the floor. "That's what I thought," I said. "You would have let me raise another man's child without saying a word, wouldn't you?" "But he isn't," she shouted. "He's yours. Why do you keep dealing with hypotheticals? Reality is he is your son." "The reality," I said, "is that you cheated on me, lied about it for 2 years, and only got caught because you were paranoid about eye color." She got nasty then. She said, "Well, maybe if you hadn't been working so much back then, I wouldn't have been so lonely. Maybe if you paid attention to me, I wouldn't have needed Scott." There it was, the pivot. It was my fault she slept with a guy in a Holiday Inn. I told her I was contacting a lawyer. Her face dropped. "You can't," she whispered. "You'll destroy us. You'll lose half your money. You'll only see Jack half the time." "I'd rather see him half the time in a home with no lies than all the time in a fake marriage," I said. She started screaming as I walked out. "You're quitting. You're a quitter. You're throwing away a family over nothing. Nothing." She calls infidelity and paternity fraud or attempted paternity fraud nothing. I called my brother on the way back to the motel. I told him everything. He was shocked. He offered to let me stay with him, but he lives 2 hours away and I need to be close to work and Jack. But it felt good to tell someone. He said, "Dude, she didn't just cheat. She auditioned 2 guys for the role of dad and didn't tell the one who got the part." That stuck with me. I'm meeting with a divorce attorney on Monday. I'm terrified. I don't want to lose time with my son. I don't want to lose my house, but I can't stay with her. Every time she looks at me, I know she's calculating how much she can get away with. Update 4: the last few weeks have been a blur of legal meetings and emotional exhaustion. I'm still living in a short-term rental apartment now. I moved out of the motel because it was depressing and I needed a kitchen. Laura has swung wildly between begging for forgiveness and trying to destroy my character. She told our mutual friends that I left her because I didn't trust that Jack was mine, even after the test proved it. She spun it so that I look like a paranoid maniac who is rejecting his own son because of eye color. I had friends calling me, asking me why I'm being such a jerk. "The DNA matches, man. Why are you doing this to her?" I finally had to set the record straight. I texted the group chat. "I'm not leaving because of the DNA results. I'm leaving because Laura slept with her co-worker Scott multiple times while we were trying to conceive, and she only took the test because she was terrified the baby was his. The test proved I'm the father, but it also proved she's a liar." Radio silence in the group chat. Then slowly the apologies started coming in. Laura was furious. She sent me a text saying, "How could you humiliate me like that? Now everyone knows." Yeah. That's the point. My lawyer says we have a messy road ahead. Since Jack is biologically mine, thank God, custody will likely be 50-50 unless I can prove she's unfit, which she isn't. She's a liar, but she takes good care of him. It hurts to think I'll miss half his life because of her choices, but I'm trying to focus on the quality of the time I will have. I also found out what happened with Scott. Apparently Laura called him in a panic after I found out. Scott, who is married, freaked out. He was terrified I was going to tell his wife. I haven't told his wife yet. Laura begged me not to, saying it would ruin innocent lives. But honestly, I think she just wants to protect Scott, or maybe she wants to protect herself from the blowout. I'm undecided on that. Part of me wants to burn it all down. Part of me just wants to be done with the drama. Laura and I had a mediation session yesterday to discuss temporary custody schedules. She looked terrible. She's lost weight. She cried the whole time. She kept sliding photos of us across the table. Photos from our honeymoon, photos of Jack's birth. "Remember this," she'd say. "We were happy." I looked at the photos. In the honeymoon ones, yes, we were happy. But in the ones from 2 years ago, the ones taken around the time she was meeting Scott at the Holiday Inn, I look happy, but she looks distracted. I can see it now. She's looking away from the camera. She's smiling, but it doesn't reach her eyes. I told her I remember thinking we were happy, but you were busy booking hotels. She stopped showing me photos after that. I've officially filed for divorce. I'm not renewing the lease on our emotional life. I'm looking for a condo nearby so I can set up a room for Jack. It's weird. I look at Jack now and I'm just so grateful he's mine. If the test had gone the other way, I don't know if I could have stayed in his life the same way. And that scares me, but he is mine. He's the only good thing that came out of this mess. I ran into Laura's mom at the grocery store yesterday. She knows the truth now. She couldn't even look me in the eye. She just mumbled, "I'm so sorry, Frank," and hurried away. It was sad. I like my in-laws. I'm going to cook a steak tonight in my new apartment. It's quiet here. No secrets. No filing cabinets with hidden bombs in them. I learned a valuable lesson. When your gut tells you something is wrong, listen to it. And when someone tries to make you feel crazy for asking reasonable questions, dig deeper. I deserve a partner who doesn't need a lab report to know who the father of her child is. And Jack deserves a dad who is happy, even if he's living in a different house. Thanks for reading. It helped to get this all out.